Alright, welcome back to the show. Today is Thursday, June 29th, 2017, and we got a whole lot of things going on, right? A whole lot of things that I want to get to, a lot of things that I want to talk about. So, first I'm going to go ahead, talk about Congress and how useless they all are when it comes to getting things done. I mean, completely useless in every single way. Totally useless. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into immigration policy, and I'm also going to get into the CNN scandal, which CNN refuses to even acknowledge as a scandal. CNN seems to take pride in the way that they push their fake news. They take pride in it. That's the thing. They're proud of what they do. There was a response to one of the videos that came out, one of the leaked videos, and they just said it was just LOL. That was all they had to say, just LOL. So CNN doesn't care. They don't care about how all these things are coming out that are showing that, you definitely do push fake news. Like, it's confirmed. Like, everyone said it before, but it's completely confirmed now. Like, it's been shown. They don't care, though. They don't care at all. So anyway, I'll get to that at the end. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and get to Congress. So, Congress has been making very slow progress on most things. On pretty much everything. They've been working towards healthcare, but here, Politico's reporting that Republicans are growing frustrated as their to-do list grows. First of all, I just love that, right? I love how they're getting frustrated about their to-do list growing. I mean, shouldn't you always have a long to-do list as a member of Congress, as a part when you're in government? Shouldn't you always have a long to-do list? Because there are so many issues that you need to address. Shouldn't you always have a long to-do list? So why is the list growing right now? And I also find it hilarious that they're complaining about how much how they're running out of time. Well, it's really pretty much up to them. It's their fault that they didn't get anything done, because they were wasting their time the entire time talking about Russia and not talking about actual things people care about. And when they would push for legislation, it was for stuff that no one wanted, like Russia's sanctions. Like, why are you wasting your time getting Russia sanctions when you could be pushing for healthcare or tax reform or infrastructure or, even immigration? Immigration is one of those things that even if we have like the centrist Republicans, the moderate ones, even they should be able to get on board for immigration bills and for the border wall. But apparently the party has just gotten so out of touch with the base that they can't even agree on immigration and on the border, which is just it's just an embarrassment. It's just a total embarrassment. So anyway, in the article here it says, during an emergency White House meeting with Senate Republicans on Tuesday, Senator Tom Cotton felt compelled to make a last-ditch attempt to salvage the stalled Obamacare replacement. He said, "You're too weak to do what you should do," Cotton told his colleagues, according to sources familiar with the exchange. You're too weak to do what you should do. I love that quote, and it's something that should be said more often, because they are too weak. But I'm afraid he might be talking about the wrong thing here. See, I'm one of the people who will say that this healthcare bill that they've been trying to push through is rushed. Now, I think that it can be a good thing, as long as they actually go through the process and have amendments and have debate. But there's not been much in the way of that. I mean, they came out with the bill publicly. About like what, Monday? That was when they came out with the bill and they made it public. And then they were going to have a vote like yesterday. That wasn't gonna happen. That was never going to happen. And anyone who thought it was going to happen, well, that's just not realistic at all. That's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not a thing. It's not possible. But for some reason, people were apparently surprised that the vote wasn't going to take place yesterday. And even, on Monday, when I first heard that they were going to do a vote, when they were going to, I was the one who said, like, wow, that's weird. I don't know why they're going so early. They haven't done much in the way of the process. So I was the one that said, yeah, that's strange. That doesn't make much sense to me. But then when they decided that they weren't going to have the vote on that day, that was apparently a big surprise to everybody, which it shouldn't have been, because it was a dumb idea in the first place to have a vote so early on. So they're complaining about healthcare. You know, if they, like, he's saying that they're too weak, and I agree that they're too weak. The thing about them being weak, though, is that probably your definition of weak and my definition of weak is different. See, when it comes to passing legislation, they actually do a somewhat good job if they care enough about it. But the thing is, they don't have the backbone to care about the right things. Could you imagine where we would be right now if they cared as much about infrastructure as they did about Russia sanctions? They passed Russia sanctions, like, immediately. 1 week it was like, okay, we got Russia sanctions, and then they just passed it. They immediately. Because when they actually care about things, they can get it passed as soon as they want, right? Because they're actually good at playing politics when it's their interests. But when it's our interests, and when it's stuff that the base wants, they don't care at all. They don't care at all. So they don't put in any effort to try and pass any of these things, even though they're so popular. They don't care. They don't care at all. Why would they care, right? Exactly. So it's just such a sad thing to see. Well, here it says, as the House and Senate prepare to depart Thursday for a week-long July 4th recess, they face a daunting to-do list upon their return: an unfinished healthcare bill in the Senate, an ugly budget fight in the House, and difficult votes to raise the debt ceiling and fund the government. Not to mention tax reform and infrastructure, which are still in the earliest stages of being developed. Why are these still in the early stages? That's what I want to know. How come you didn't get working on this stuff immediately in January? How come you didn't start working on this stuff immediately? Why the big wait? Why the big wait? Why is it now that it's June, that they're saying that, oh yeah, this stuff is in the early stages? You should have been working on this stuff from the beginning. But the thing is, when it comes to Congress, they don't care about that kind of stuff. They don't care about the actual things that they were voted in to do. Like, they were voted in to stand with the president, right? And they haven't done that whatsoever. They have not done that at all. They said, it was yesterday that I covered that one of them said, oh yeah, no, yeah, we could get the president in here to, help us out with the healthcare bill, but he just doesn't get us any votes. He's not gonna do anything for us. Could you imagine if that was the other way around, and if you had Democrats saying, oh yeah, no, we could get Obama down here, but he's not gonna get us any votes. He's just not he's not popular. It's alright. Because the thing is, with Obama, you had this sort of like fake populism, and this, and you had real elitism in Congress. So they meshed, though, because Obama's populism was fake and he was actually an elitist. So they got along well, and they were able to work together well. When it comes to Trump, though, he's just not. This just goes to show that he's a real populist, right? People will go ahead, people on the left, and they will question whether or not he's a real populist. And what I gotta say to that is just that look at how he's treated by the whole establishment, right? And then I even saw a claim being made by Kyle Kulinski, and he was like, oh yeah, no, he's loved by the establishment now. He's loved by the Who is the establishment to you? Is it Congress? He's not loved by Congress. Is it the media? He's sure as I'm not loved by the media. That's not a thing at all. The media has just gotten more and more hostile every single day. So I don't know. And Congress, I mean, they're getting hostile. I mean, they I mean, Lindsey Graham, he got a bill through where it was like, oh yeah, no, we've taken away the president's power to weaken up sanctions. Like, since when has that ever been a thing? Since when have you ever had a Congress that's like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and block the president from making this policy. We're just gonna block him, even though it's a policy that makes sense because the sanctions were put in place, and then there was nothing done with them. They just sat there. You're supposed to use sanctions as a tool for diplomacy. You're supposed to use sanctions to get a party to the table by sort of, forcing them to, by giving them sanctions. But then we sanctioned Russia over Crimea. And then nothing happened. There was no negotiation, there was no diplomacy. We just sanctioned, and then that was it. And then with the Russia hacking, with Obama passed the new sanctions. Which, how are you going to pass sanctions on somebody when you can't even prove that they did anything? How are you going to do that? You can't. You don't. No one has any proof of Russian interference. But you know what? They just passed sanctions anyway. They don't care. They don't care at all. And then, do you think that there was ever negotiations after that? That Obama passed the sanctions and then tried to use that to get them to the table? Of course not. There's been any notion, even the notion of having relations with Russia, of talking to Russian officials. That, to the Democrats and to the establishment, that's like Russia collusion right there. They go after, people like Mike Flynn, like, oh my god, these people, like all these associates of Trump they met with a Russian official. Collusion. Because it was in their mind, right? In their mind, because, Congress is filled with, like a whole bunch of old people who grew up in the 1980s, not grew up in the 1980s, but people who grew up during the Cold War, and they grew up with this whole mindset of like, oh yeah, Russia, greatest enemy of America, greatest enemy of all time, right? The greatest evil, the evil empire on the world, right? That's like how they grew up. That was their way of thinking. So now the Cold War's over, and they just haven't really gotten through. That just hasn't really gotten through their heads, I mean, except for Democrats, right? Because with Democrats, at least they were at one point right on Russia. In 2012, Mitt Romney, because Mitt Romney is also out of touch. Mitt Romney said that, oh yeah, Russia is our greatest foe, is our greatest geopolitical foe. And Obama and all the Democrats, they all laughed at him. And they said, hey, Mitt Romney, it's not the 1980s anymore. Cold War's over. And that was right of them to say. They were right to say that. But what happened? Now, recently, you had John McCain say the exact same thing. He was like, oh yeah, Russia is our greatest geopolitical foe. They're a greater threat than ISIS. Which is a ridiculous thing to say. And then Democrats, they just heaped the praise on them. They heaped the praise. They gave them all sorts of applause. They said, oh my god, John McCain is a real Republican. We need more people like John McCain to take a brave stand against Russia. It's not brave. It's like the default position in Washington right now. It's not brave. It's conforming. That's not brave. There's no bravery in saying, oh yeah, Russia's our greatest foe, because that's just the default position of everyone in DC. Like, because you have Trump who goes against it, and suddenly now there's a big witch hunt against him, because like, oh my god, you are going to meet with Vladimir Putin, and you won't even murder him right there? Russian puppet. I can't believe it. Russian puppet. Putin agent. Ugh. Working for the KGB all over again. Because these people, they just don't have anything going on in their heads, except for, oh, Russia's bad because, the 1980s apparently just never ended. And in the case of a lot of senators and congressmen, the 1980s did never end. Because you have people like Ted Cruz and, Rand Paul, who still think that it's the 1980s, and they still think that the way to win elections is to be centrist on social issues and like this really weird like ultra free market, conservative libertarian on economics. They think that that's how you be. I think that that's how you be populist, right? They think that's populist. I mean, that's embarrassing. And I hate all of the articles and how everyone always says, oh, Ted Cruz and the Tea Party, the hardliners, the real conservatives in the party. No, the real hardliners are people like Trump, right? Not Ted Cruz, not Rand Paul. That's a faction that's just so out of touch and so outdated that they don't have any support. I mean, outside of what? I mean, they obviously have some support from their constituents, but everywhere else, I'm not seeing anything. So, it's just, so what we have now is we have a Congress that's been wasting all of their time, and now they're panicking because they're running out of time, and now they're realizing it, and they're saying, oh my god, we've done nothing. We haven't done a thing. And they're right, they haven't done a thing. You know, they put out a 200-day plan at the beginning. They said, alright, here it is. This is the 200-day plan. And in these 200 days, we're going to get so much stuff done, right? They had it's very ambitious plan. And everyone thought, oh, it's such a great thing. I can't wait to see this plan in action. And then you know what happened? The plan was just completely ignored. They did nothing with the plan. The plan is useless. I mean, 200 days are almost over at this point. I mean, they're almost over. And what have you guys done? Supreme Court, okay, good. You've done the House healthcare bill. That passed, okay. It's not a good bill though, but alright, go ahead. What else? Oh, they've done some reforms to the VA. Okay, good. What else have they done? All the work has been coming from the White House, pretty much. All the work when it comes to immigration and stuff like that has been coming from the White House, and he doesn't even have support from Congress. We should be having, if we actually had a party that could function like a real party, we would have Congress coming out in support of all these immigration bills that are these orders that are being passed by the president, right? That are being made. But we don't have any of that. We don't have any of that because you gotta be moderate. That's how it works, right? You gotta be moderate. You gotta be compassionate. You gotta reach out to the immigrants and all that by being for amnesty, right, Marco Rubio? Such a mess. But yeah. Anyway, what do we have? Let's see. Oh yeah, we have a quote from John McCain. Asked Wednesday for his sense of the Republican agenda, Senator John McCain said bluntly, "I don't know what it is." He ticked off the debt limit, and government funding deadline as other hurdles to overcome in the coming months. He says, "We have to get all these issues sitting out there that we have no schedule for being resolved," McCain said. Now here's the thing. They go on to talk about the budget and how they're trying to avoid a government shutdown, right? When it comes to the government shutdown, what I want to say is if a government shutdown comes and it's because of whiny Democrats that just want to get what they want and they refuse to compromise on anything. You know what I say? I say let it happen. Just let the government shut down in that case, because then you can just blame it on them. That's what they did when you had Ted Cruz shutting the government down. They blamed him and they blamed the party, and it worked for them. So why can't we just do the same thing? That's the thing, because Republicans don't know how to play politics. They don't know how to fight effectively. So if there was a government shutdown and it was the fault of the Democrats, they probably wouldn't even say it. They would just blame themselves some way. Just like when you had the Scalise shooting, when they should have blamed Democrats, but they blamed everyone. Oh, this is all of our faults for creating such a hostile environment No, why can't you just go out there and name the problem and say, hey, Democrats, get it together? That's the thing, because we have a party that's just so weak, and they don't know how to fight anything. They know how to fight when it comes to things that they care about, like, sanctions and internet privacy gutting for some reason. But when it comes to things that people actually care about, they're not even going to put up any kind of, they're not going to put in any kind of effort. They're in the early stages of an infrastructure bill and tax reform. That should have been, the early stages should have been in February, not now, in June. So it's embarrassing. I can only hope that things get quicker and that things speed up. Because if they don't, 2018 is going to be a bad year. So, I want to go ahead and move right into what we have here. I want to move into immigration. So, we've actually had a lot with immigration coming out. And one thing I want to say is that how come we have all of this stuff with immigration, and how come the president doesn't brag about it? Because we've been seeing all this progress being made. All this progress. And there's been no bragging. And it's probably because, right? This is what I think. It's probably because they want to avoid liberal backlash, right? Because it's a controversial subject. And if they pushed all these immigration reforms, it's going to really anger the liberal base. You know what I say to that? Who cares? Who cares if the liberal base is angry? Let them go out onto the streets and do their marches and their protests and watch them embarrass themselves like they do every single time they do one of their marches and protests. That's what they do. They embarrass themselves because no one wants to see a bunch of whiny college kids out on the streets yelling and screaming about privileges. They don't care. It's just annoying to them. So let them go out and do it. It'll just be beneficial to you. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it, right? So, Donald Trump has been making a lot of progress when it comes to his extreme vetting. So the Hill reports here the Trump administration for months has been quietly beefing up extreme vetting procedures for people seeking to enter the United States with visas. So visas. So he's been doing a whole lot of things with his vetting and with visas. So it says here, President Trump signed a little-notice executive order last week that rescinded an Obama-era goal to speed up visa processing. By the way, right, the fact that this is an Obama-era goal, I want to point something out that people don't seem to talk about as much as they should be. People on the right, we go after Democrats for being for all of this, like, free immigration, open borders, amnesty. We go after them. But people don't take the time to think about why they push for this stuff. And this might sound like I'm going to come off as like, oh, we should listen to them and try and understand them, where they're coming from. No, you know what I'm trying to say? They want all this immigration stuff. They want all of these open borders and all this free immigration. You know why? Because it gets them more voters. It just gets them more voters. I mean, come on. I mean, think about it. If we had an amnesty, if we had full amnesty for all illegal immigrants that are here right now, and a lot of Democrats want that. They say, oh yeah, amnesty for everyone. That's going to be 11 million illegals, 11 million new voters. Do you think we're ever going to win any election ever if we suddenly have 11 million new Democratic voters? Because think about it, these people, illegal immigrants, they're going to vote Republican? Yeah, I don't think so. They're going to vote Democrat, and they're going to vote Democrat so much. If they pass amnesty, they would instantly turn Texas blue. I can guarantee that. Because it's all about the votes. They don't actually care. They don't actually care about immigration, right? They just want the votes. That's why you have Obama speeding up the visa processing, right? Because he just wants more of them here. He wants more foreigners because they always vote for Democrats. They want them to vote for Democrats against the interests of the natives, us, the Republicans. He wants to screw us over by importing new voters. That's their plan. And no one says that on the right, and it's just weird to me. Why can't you just go ahead and come out and say the reason why they want all this immigration reform, so-called reform? Whenever they say immigration reform, they usually just mean amnesty, right? They mean open borders. Now, I might say immigration reform because there's really no other term, but whenever you hear someone in DC talking about immigration reform, you should be scared. You should be terrified, because that's just a really bad sign. When you have, Jeb Bush during the campaign. Jeb Bush would always say, we need immigration reform. Now, Jeb Bush was so weak on illegal immigration. I mean, Trump says it all the time, but it was true, though. I mean, he was so weak. He was against the wall. He was for amnesty. I mean, he's a disaster. So, what we need, and this also brings me into like what I was talking about before. Why is it that Donald Trump, he does all this stuff for immigration? Why doesn't he brag about it more often? He doesn't brag. Like, people always say, oh my god, Donald Trump, he brags so much. Why doesn't he brag about this? Now, I have an idea as to why. And I think it's because it's a controversial subject. And he doesn't want to spark backlash. That's what I kind of think. I mean, at the same time, I also say, like, why would he care about backlash? He's never cared about it before. So, there's that. But then there's also, that's what I think. Now, here's what I say about that. If it's gonna spark Democratic backlash from liberals and stuff, who cares? It doesn't even matter. If they go out there and they do their marches, hashtag March for Immigrants, and their protests and all that, you know what it's gonna do? It's just gonna embarrass them. It's just gonna embarrass them. Because think about it. I mean, they do their protests, and I've always asked this. I've asked, why? What are you doing your protest for? Like, I know that you're protesting and you want to be heard and stuff like that, but what's your goal? What do you think that protesting is going to do, realistically? It's going to satisfy yourself. It's going to make you feel like a good person. Okay. It's going to satisfy maybe your friends who might think like you. But if you're trying to actually change things, and you're trying to get people to change their minds, you're wasting your time. No one has ever seen a bunch of whiny college kids out on the streets screaming about white privilege, and they thought, you know what? Maybe I should reconsider my conservative positions. No one's ever said that. No one's ever been stopped in the middle of the street on the highway by a row of people blocking traffic and said, you know what? I feel them. I can definitely feel sympathy for them right now. No, they just feel anger because they're being blocked on the way to work, or on their way to their family, or even, in some cases, on the way to save a life when it comes to ambulances that they block in the traffic. So, just let them do it, and let them have their backlash, let them have their marches. Hashtag March for Immigrants. Their marches are useless. Remember when they did the hashtag March for Truth? Where they did a whole march about Russia, and it ended up doing nothing for them? It did nothing for them, because everyone knew that it was embarrassing. Even Democrats, so they sort of stayed away from it. And think about it now. And now, the Russia narrative has kind of died. You notice that? With Democrats and with the media, they've been talking less and less about Russia in the past, couple months. About a couple weeks, which is either surprising, or it just goes to show that they've changed their strategy after the Georgia special election, where they lost, and they were so confident that they would win. They were so confident. They put so much money into it that it became the most expensive congressional race of all time. They were so confident, and yet they still lost. And then after that, they sort of had a bit of a revelation. They had a bit of an epiphany. They said, "Oh my God, guys, maybe people don't like us because all we do is yell and scream about Vladimir Putin and Russia 24/7. So they've changed up their strategy now, it seems. And even in the media, and this just goes to show how, like, the media is just like the Democrats' puppet, right? Because the media, as soon as they changed as soon as the Democrats, they changed their message, so did the media. The media followed them. You notice that? You notice how there's been less and less Russia coverage in the media lately. And it's because the Democrats, they have decided, you know what, maybe Russia doesn't work when it comes to winning over new voters. So, anyway, what I was actually talking about, this whole immigration thing, I'm saying, just let them do their little backlash, right? Because their whole March for Truth did nothing. The March for Science, who remembers that? I mean, these marches happen, and then people forget about them, like, immediately, because it's just like, we laugh at them, and then we just forget about them, because it's just kind of embarrassing for them, like, honestly. It would be overkill if we were still talking about it. If we were still talking about the pussy hats, it would be overkill, because it's just like making the Democrats look bad, because it's just so embarrassing for them. It's just so embarrassing that you have people who are gonna go out and they're gonna protest wearing pink cat hats, pussy hats. How embarrassing is that? It's the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so embarrassing. Anyway, it says here, the brief directive, going back to immigration, the brief directive strikes part of a 2012 order signed by former President Obama that instructed the State Department to ensure that 80% of non-immigrant visa applicants are interviewed within 3 weeks of receipt of application, right? So 3 weeks, which was ridiculous. I mean, it's like an arbitrary number, 3 weeks. I don't know where they. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things that are arbitrary, but why do you think they wanted it to be so quick? Well, obviously because they wanted to get more people in that were going to vote for Democrats, right? More foreigners. That's their whole thing. More foreigners, more diversity. That's, the most important thing to the Democrats. So he's stopped that. So there's no more of this 3-week limit. You actually can now do proper vetting and proper review of people. It says here about the backlash that have been, not really backlash, but about the concerns from lawyers and business leaders. Wow, what a great group of people to go against this whole thing, right? So it says here, the moves have prompted concern among business groups and immigration lawyers that foreign travelers might shy away from visiting the U.S. due to the new rules. So first of all, I love how they say that, like, oh, we got them. The business leaders and the lawyers are against them, right? That's gonna sway people. No, I don't know why they're so proud of that. Whenever it says, oh wow, a new poll shows that 80% of business leaders say that Trump is a bad president, right? I don't know why they tout that, like they're proud of it, because it makes him look good. Because it lets him say, yeah, I'm anti-establishment. All these business leaders, they all hate me, right? So obviously, but the media, because they're so out of touch, they tout that as like, oh yeah, we got him. Hey guys, guess what? 90% of business leaders disagree with Trump's policies on this. Got him, right? People don't see that and say, oh wow, Mark Zuckerberg says that Trump is a bad president. You know what? I'm gonna have to reconsider now. I have to change my views. You know what? I've decided to rescind my previous views. I'm over it. Anyone's gonna sit there and say, oh my God, no, I can't believe it. Bill Gates said that Trump shouldn't build a wall. Man, you know what? I think he's right. No one says that. I don't know why the media likes to tout these polls about how, like, oh yeah, the business organizations, they all say that they disagree with this. That just makes Trump look better in the eyes of the people, because they want someone who's anti-establishment. So the idea that this is how you take him down, with all this business leader stuff. Oh yeah, the business leaders say that he's going to be bad for the economy. That just makes everyone says, okay, but we don't trust business leaders, because business leaders and regular people, they have like two separate economies, right? When you're in business and the stock market is doing well, you say, oh my god, look, the stock market is doing so well. I guess the economy is doing well too, right? It's a different thing. That you can have the stock market, not do too well, because you can still have people, normal people, doing better in their lives and having more opportunity and higher wages and income and all that. So it's two separate things. So when business people say, oh my god, he's going to be so bad for the economy, which, by the way, they're not talking about jobs, they're talking about the stock market, right? Stuff like that. And the stock market has been doing so much better since he's won. And there's been all kinds of speculation, right? Everyone's been saying, when is this Trump surge, right? Or when is this Trump rally going to end? Because everyone predicted before the election, they all said, oh, if Donald Trump wins, then the markets will crash, right? They all said that. And then what happened? He won, and the markets, they surged. And they haven't stopped surging since then. They've kept going strong. And they keep on saying, oh, one of these days the bubble's gonna pop. The Trump surge is gonna come to an end. And they're probably right, because bubbles always pop. But at the same time, like, I love how they got it so wrong, and they're still saying, like, oh yeah, he's gonna be so bad for the stock market and for the economy. It's just not true. It's just not true. And second, going back to immigration. I keep getting off from immigration, but I have so many things to talk about, right? Going back to immigration. They say that, oh yeah, foreign travelers might shy away from visiting the U.S. Oh no. Oh no. Foreign travelers are going to shy away from coming to the U.S.? Guys, it's over. Guys, I have to... You know what? I can't support this anymore. Foreign travelers are gonna shy away. Guys, like, I can't support it anymore. You know what? This is over. It's over. They put that in there. Who's gonna sit there and say that? Like, is that a bad thing? Like, oh yeah, foreign travelers are gonna shy away. Isn't that like the point? That we don't want that the foreign travel? I mean, by the way, when did we ever agree to all of this open border stuff? When did we ever agree to having equal immigration from everywhere? We never agreed. That was just the government that said, oh yeah, now the president can't restrict immigration from these places. Like, I hate the whole idea. Back in the day we had quotas, we had standards. Now we have nothing. Back in the day, we had Ellis Island, we had, we would make sure that you were, not some kind of degenerate. You're not a communist, you're not an anarchist, right? They would make sure that, hey, if you're gonna come here, we want the best people. I mean, to quote, that's something that Trump would say, right? Like, oh, yeah, we want the best people. But we do, we want the best people. We don't want to import terrorists, we don't want to import communists and anarchists, right? We want to import people who are going to integrate. And I know Democrats, they hate that so much. Oh my god, assimilation, racist. I know, they're gonna say that, but look, it's the truth. We need assimilation, and we gotta bring back those old school immigration laws too. We gotta bring back having quotas and being able to prioritize certain countries. Why is it that we can't prioritize our allies? Like, I would much rather have immigrants from Britain and France and Germany and Italy than from Syria and Iraq and Egypt and Mexico. Why is it that we can't prioritize our allies first? They want to talk about, oh, Trump is so disastrous with our allies. Why can't we have our allies first when it comes to immigration? Because I don't want like, would you rather have, right, an immigrant from, say, I don't know, Scotland, or someone from Saudi Arabia? When it comes to the odds of, like, who's going to be a better citizen, and who's more likely to be a terrorist? I mean, in the case of Scotland, it's rising because we're having so much immigration to the UK, but just in general, that's what I'm saying. Like, our allies, we can trust our allies, but we can't trust, we can't trust, like, Egypt, and nothing against Egypt, right? Egypt is a great place, but we can't trust people in the Middle East right now because it's such a mess. We have no idea what's going on, so we need to prioritize our allies first if we want to have a nice, fantastic immigration system. Anyway, it says here in the article, even before the latest executive order, there was already evidence that the visa issuances were dropping. As a result of an earlier Trump directive, the State Department is now required to publish monthly statistics on visa issuances. According to that data, the total count of non-immigrant visas issued dropped from 907,000 in March to 735,000 in April. So we have a steep drop right there, and that's something that we love to see, right? We want to see the steep drops. And this is part of his campaign too. This is why I don't know why he doesn't tout about it. He doesn't brag about it as much as he should be. Because this is a big part of his campaign. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and, less immigration. We're gonna crack down on visas. So why can't he brag about this? Why can't he come out in there and say, like, hey, look at what we're doing with immigration. We're making great progress. Immigration is probably the one place where he's been just perfect, pretty much. I mean, he's been so good on immigration. I mean, he's been good elsewhere too. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to immigration, it's also because he hasn't faced too much opposition and too much pressure from other groups. And imagine how much more progress we could make if we had both the president with all these orders, and even if we had Congress working with him. Because right now we have Congress, and they don't do anything about immigration because, oh, it's too controversial, so we can't. Like, that's just the worst excuse. But could you imagine if we had Trump working with Congress on immigration, and they were agreeing and working together? Oh my God, it would be a dream. It would be an absolute dream. But we don't get that because Congress is, weak, and President Trump, he's got to work by himself. And he doesn't seem to brag too much. You know what? He might be bringing it up for the campaign. But he doesn't brag too much. And you know what? I would say to him, Donald, this is a great thing that you're doing right now with immigration. Just go out there and just talk about it. Just brag. Like, hey, look at how much the issuances dropped in just 1 month. So he's doing great work. But he should definitely come out and just brag about it. I don't know why he doesn't. So, one last thing I want to get to here. I want to get to the CNN scandal. So, I have a transcript here from Breitbart on Chuck Todd. He did a little segment on his show. And he talked about... Oh no, not on his show, not on his show. It was on MSNBC's MTP Daily, not his show. So he defended CNN. And he brings up a video clip of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And it's... his whole little speech here is a lot. He's got a lot to say, and I got a lot to say about it too. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So, CNN has been engulfed in scandal lately. For a while now, CNN has been dealing with a fake news scandal because they were caught pushing a story about Russia that was just wrong. So what happened is the person in the article who was attacked by CNN, they threatened to sue. So CNN, they took down the story, they apologized, and they fired 3 people. Now, people looked at that and they said, "Oh, look at this. CNN is being taken responsibility. Good for them." But it turns out it wasn't something that they did just because they are good journalists. They did it because they were threatened. So people are looking into it now, and they're finding a whole bunch of videos, leaked videos, that just shows these CNN employees who are pretty much on video saying, "Yeah, Russia's not really the Russia story. There's nothing there. The Russia story is kind of nonsense." So we have video clips of that, but we have CNN now playing the victim, and it's kind of embarrassing. So let's get into the article, right? So Breitbart is reporting here, and they have a transcript of a show that Chuck Todd was on. Chuck Todd works for CNN, and it says here, NBC's he works for NBC? That's embarrassing. Chuck Todd works for NBC, not CNN. I got totally wrong. NBC's Chuck Todd defends CNN, calls Trump admin's war on the press a war on the truth. So what I was saying, even though I got the network wrong, which is kind of embarrassing, it still stands. Because here we have the media playing the victim in general, not just CNN, but the whole media. So it says here, Wednesday on MSNBC's MTP Daily, host Chuck Todd defended CNN after they retracted a report on Russia and 3 staffers resigned. So here's the transcript, right? And it's a partial transcript, but it has pretty much it's the bulk of what he had to say. So, it says here, Chuck Todd is talking here. Welcome back. Tonight, well, not just tonight, but I'm obsessed with the White House's war on the press and on the media. Let's be clear about this. That war is nothing less than a war on the truth. Do we get it right all the time? No, we don't. And when we don't, we run a correction, and in some cases, people lose their jobs. That's what just happened at CNN. CNN took responsibility for its mistakes. At this network, we've done it quite a few times publicly as well, but because we try to get it right. We take what we do seriously, because trust, viewers and readers' trust, is all we have. And without it, we are nothing. We all know we get fired for not telling the truth. And of course that's the point, isn't it? Of course, the White House attacks, it delegitimizes the media to create running room for its version of events. It's as old as media itself. The White House is not above using anonymous sources to criticize the use of anonymous sources, nor to promote what it admits could be a lie to call others liars. Here's Sarah Huckabee Sanders attacking CNN in an unbelievable way. Take a listen. So he begins a video clip here, and it's Huckabee Sanders talking at the press conference, or the briefing, and it says here, she says, "There's a video circulating now. Whether it's accurate or not, I don't know. But I would encourage everybody in this room, and frankly everybody across the country, to take a look at it. I think if it's accurate, I think it's a disgrace to all of the media and to all of journalism." So, by the way, she's talking about the video clip of, I believe, Van Jones. Van Jones works for CNN, not NBC. Van Jones works for CNN, and he was caught on camera saying, yeah, Russia, he used the term nothing burger, which is a term that I despise. I don't know what a nothing burger just sounds like something that I hate. I don't even know, I know what it means, but I just hate it. I hate the way it sounds. I hate the word. But anyway, he said it's a nothing burger, which pretty much just means it's a story, but there's nothing there. There's no there, you know? So anyway, it goes back to Chuck Todd talking here, and he says, "Excuse me? You got that? I don't know whether it's accurate or not, but go take a look at it because it disgraces you? Seriously?" And that's been this White House's MO. Peddle a false story to claim the media is telling false stories. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was just a bit more honest, apparently, about the White House's dishonesty. So no, Mr. President, no. The White House press shop, the media is not the enemy of the people. We're just here to find, as Carl Bernstein put it so well, the best obtainable version of the truth. It can hurt you. It can hurt us. And yes, even you, Mr. President. So, here's what I want to say about Chuck Todd, right? First of all, he begins by making CNN look like a victim. And the reason I got it wrong was because him talking here, it sounded like he works for CNN. That's why I got it wrong. I mean, I also, at the same time, I mean, CNN and NBC, kind of like the same thing, right? I mean, honestly, they're different organizations, but they work for the same people, and they pretty much push the same content. So, there's no difference there. I got it right pretty much. But anyway, Chuck Todd, he's saying, oh yeah, CNN, they took responsibility for their mistakes, right? Here's the thing, they make it seem like CNN apologized because they were just good journalists, right? They apologized because they're just good journalists and because they just wanted to get it right. That's how they make it sound. But here's what actually happened. They were sued. They were threatened with a lawsuit, so that they had to apologize because of that. I can guarantee you, if there was no threat of a lawsuit, they would have kept the story up. You know why? Because they have kept stories up even after they've been proven wrong over and over and over again, time and time again. It's happened. And it happened with the dossier. Anyone remember the dossier from about, I think, December? It came out, and it was a totally phony document, right? It was made by a Hillary staffer. It had geographical and grammatical errors, basic errors too, and CNN, they showed that on TV like it was legitimate. And did they ever apologize? No. They defended themselves using the same defense that Chuck Todd says is nonsense in a little bit. So I'll get to that in a bit. But anyway, so the idea that CNN is the victim here and that they're just trying to get it right and they're trying to take responsibility. No, there's more to it. Because they were threatened into doing that. By the way, the fact that they caved so quickly, it just goes to show that they're guilty. Because think about it, if they truly believed that they were telling the truth, wouldn't they have just said, you want to sue us? Go ahead. Sue us for telling the truth? Come on. That's not going to happen. But no. They were threatened with a lawsuit, and they immediately gave in. And people might say, oh, it's because they didn't want to pay the fees, they didn't want to go through the whole process, but here's the thing. CNN is a giant corporation. Why wouldn't they be able to just go and fight in court? It's not like they're a normal person who has to worry about legal fees, right? No, they're a giant corporation. So there's no excuse for not going to court if they believe that they were innocent. Which they probably, definitely were not. So anyway. So this whole thing, and then they say here, he says that trust is all we have. And if we don't have trust, then we're nothing. So you guys are nothing then. You do realize that trust in the media is at an all-time low. It's at an all-time low. And yet you're going to go ahead and say that without trust we're nothing? You guys don't have any trust. No, you guys don't have any trust. It was like what? How many Americans did they say in the Pew poll, in the research, that they had a great deal of trust? I mean, it was a very low number. I remember that. It was definitely a majority that said they didn't trust the media at all. So this whole, that you guys don't have legitimacy. And then I love how they say, oh yeah, the White House, they delegitimize the media. The media is not legitimate to begin with. I mean, you did that yourselves, okay? It's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy by the right-wing media and Donald Trump to make you guys look bad. You make yourselves look bad. Because you don't talk about actual issues, and all you do is talk about Russia, and you talk about these lies and these manufactured fake scandals that you've made up. So, I don't want to hear, oh, we're being delegitimized. You're already delegitimized. You know who did it? You know who delegitimized you? Yourselves. So here's what I want to say. And then they say that they use anonymous sources to criticize anonymous sources. I don't know where they got that from. I don't know where he gets that from. I don't know what example he has to use for that. I don't know any examples of that happening, but whatever. And then he goes on to the Sanders clip. So this is just, so what she says, first of all, what she says is it's actually like somewhat timid, is somewhat weak, because like, here's the thing. She says, oh, we don't know if it's accurate. No, we do. No, we do. We know it's accurate. No, because it's a video clip. This idea that you have a video clip and they say, oh yeah, it's not accurate. What? How? It's literally a video clip of Van Jones saying, oh yeah, Russia's kind of a nonsense and it's Russia's kind of bogus. It's not really a real story. And then she says, oh, we don't know if it's accurate. You don't know if it's accurate. This whole, like, there's just been this whole narrative that's popped up on the left ever since the video came out about yesterday. And it just doesn't make any sense. On Twitter, right? If you went on Twitter yesterday and you saw the headlines and the hashtags and all what Twitter had to say about the whole thing. Because usually when Twitter has a hashtag, right, sometimes they'll put the hashtag and then like a little like a description of it beneath it. But with the hashtag, it was talking about the Van Jones clip. Twitter's little definition said, oh yeah, it was like alt-right groups have released an edited video of Van Jones. Edited video. Even though the edit, I don't know what they mean. That maybe they either mean that they cut things out, that they had their sort of like, I don't know, watermark over it. They say it's an edited video. No, but the part where he says that the Russia story is fake, that's not edited. What did they do? Did they get a Van Jones sound-alike to go in there and put those lines over his actual voice? Did they just get a Van Jones lookalike to go out there and do the video just completely manufactured like that? What? No, it's actually, no, trust me, that's actually Van Jones. That's actually him talking, and that's actually him saying that Russia's fake news. So no, you can't say that, oh no, it's an edited video. No, it's him saying Russia's fake news. That's not an edited thing. You can say that, oh, they cut this part out. Where they didn't put out the whole video. They only put out that part. Okay, but that part is still accurate. That part is still... they say that that's their whole narrative now, is that, oh yeah, the video, it's such a sleazy thing. Like, they go after Trump and they say that, oh my god, Trump, you said that everything that you don't like is fake news, even if you don't have any proof. So now this comes out from CNN, and it's Van Jones saying that Russia's fake news, and then they just say, oh, fake video. Okay, moving on. Okay, but how's it fake? Oh, it's just fake. Okay, but how is it a fake video? Oh yeah, it's edited. Okay, how's it edited? Yeah, it's just edited. It's fake. They don't have any argument. It's such a weak defense. It's so embarrassing for them. And Chuck Todd says that. He says like, oh yeah, it's a fake video. How is it a fake video? Oh yeah, it's just, you know, it's a false story. What do you mean? He's going on and he's saying here. He's saying that, oh, they're pushing a false story. How is this a false story? It's a video. It's literally a video. That's as real as it gets. It's a video. It has audio. You see Van Jones. Van Jones speaks, and Van Jones says the words, "The Russia story is a nothing burger." Nothing burger, I hate that word so much. But he says it, and he means it. You can't just go out there and say, oh yeah, fake video. Yeah, fake news. No, it's a real video. How is it fake? How is it edited? No, it's him saying, yeah, Russia's kind of fake news. It's not an edited thing. So, Chuck Todd, I mean, this whole CNN thing. By the way, with the video clips, there's actually, I'm actually hearing now, there's going to be a new video clip every day this week from about CNN employees saying that the Russia story is fake. Every day this week, so I cannot wait to see all the videos that come out. But, I mean, until then, we can go, I mean, already, the Van Jones video and the one that came before it, that should be enough. But no. We apparently are going to get more. And you know what? I can't complain about that. But this whole CNN fake news scandal, as much as they want it to go away, and they want to seem like victims, they're not victims, and it's not going away. Alright, so, that is what I wanted to get through, and I got through it. Beautiful. Alright, so, anyway, I can't wait to see what happens with this whole CNN thing. Because this CNN thing, and by the way, I know I'm over an hour at this point, but I hate how Ben Shapiro, people like Ben Shapiro, and people like the Reagan Battalion on Twitter, and they defend CNN, even though, just like I said before, they only apologized because they were threatened with a lawsuit. They didn't do it out of the kindness of their hearts, okay? So I hate people who try and defend CNN here. And I just cannot wait to see what comes out of this scandal, what comes out of the New York Times scandal with Sarah Palin. It's going to be a great thing to watch for, and it's about time that the media, that they get what's coming to them. Anyway, guys, that's all I got to talk about today. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.